Grounded and galactic. The second half. A life that refuses to be wasted. What I know now. I am not a victim. I am a creator. When I look back on my life and everything I've survived, there's one thing I absolutely refuse to let those experiences mean: that I was a victim. It has taken me 50 years to understand something. Everything I've experienced up until this point has helped create the woman I am today. The things I went through put me in the situations that forced me to grow. And today, when I look back at these experiences, I don't only see the pain anymore, I see the blessings sitting inside them. Because sitting here today, I know that I couldn't be the person that I am without having experienced the things I've experienced. The woman who loves herself, the woman who loves human beings, the woman who values people's opinion, the woman who can listen without judgment, the woman who wants to be safe, who wants to be a safe place for somebody else. That woman had to be created. There was a time when I had no faith in myself. I didn't understand what I was looking for outside of myself, that it was something that had to be discovered within me. And that's one of the greatest things I've learned thus far. We don't control everything that happens to us, but we have a tremendous amount of power over what happens inside of us. How we interpret what happens, what we learn from it, what we choose to do next, and who we decide to become. I've learned that perception matters. I've learned that our inner world can influence the world we experience outside of ourselves. I've come to believe even something deeper. I believe we are creators. I believe there is a reason why we are here. I believe that there is something inside of us that knows there is more. And I believe the dreams that I've carried inside myself for years weren't put there just to remain dreams. They were meant to be seen, experienced, created, lived. I don't pretend to know exactly how all of this works, but I know what I believe. I believe that I have a say in what I do with my life. I believe I have a choice. I believe that now. At 50 years old, I've reached a point where I've agreed with myself that it's time. It's time for me to live in my purpose. It's time for me to walk in my creativity. It's time for me to express myself as a free human being. It's time for me to experience the things I've created and carried in my heart. Not because someone else says I'm ready. Not because the circumstances are perfect, but because I choose to begin. Here's something else I've learned. I am not who I was yesterday. I love her. I love the woman who didn't know what I know now. I love the woman who made mistakes. I love the woman who was trying to survive. I love the woman who didn't understand herself yet, because she brought me here. I don't know everything, but I want to become someone that other human beings can relate to. Someone who listens. Someone who doesn't judge. Someone who can say, I don't know. And then follow that with, but let's figure it out together. Because maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing. Maybe we're not supposed to have every answer. Maybe we are supposed to learn from each other. Maybe we're supposed to understand ourselves a little better, understand each other a little better. and leave this place a little better than we found it. And if I can take everything I've lived through, everything I've survived, everything I've learned, and use even one small piece of it to help another human being, then none of it was wasted. This is where I am. This is where my second half begins. I believe my power is for empowering. My power is for inspiring. My power is for becoming. My power is for having the freedom to be exactly who I am, perfectly me. Not trying to be anyone else, not trying to jump on someone else's bandwagon, not trying to sponge from someone else's channel or someone else's ideas, but speaking my truth, my individual truth, and hoping what I say can connect with just one person. Just one person. Because that's the spark. That's the fire. And maybe that one person carries something I said into another person's life. Maybe they say something that helps someone else. Maybe something begins moving that I will never even see. That's okay, because I don't need to change the entire world. I want to touch human beings, one person at a time. There's something else I know about myself. I am a fighter. My spirit is a fighter too, and that's how I made it here. I've had to fight against the grain, against what people thought, against what people felt, against what other people did. I've never really been someone who was comfortable just following the crowd. I've been set apart to walk mostly by myself. And honestly, I've spent a lot of my life that way. I've only had a few friends here and there throughout my life. I can count them, and it wouldn't take two hands. But I don't look at that the same way anymore, because this has been a journey of discovering myself, learning who I am, learning what I believe, learning what I'm capable of. And that fighter spirit is part of me. It helped me get here. And now I understand something. The fighter got me here, but the Creator is going to decide where I go next. There is another image that keeps coming to me when I think about this transformation. I see a fire inside of me, an unmistakable fire, almost like Kundalini, like a snake rising inside of me from a ground position. I know that sounds powerful, but what I'm feeling isn't something that just appeared overnight. It's been building. It's been there through everything I've survived, through every experience that tested me, through every time I had to find another reason to keep going. I didn't have the courage before to believe that I had power. I had strength. I knew how to survive. I knew how to fight for myself. But today, I know I have power, and that's different. Because now I understand that my power isn't here to control anybody else. My power is here to empower, to inspire, to become, to give me the freedom to be exactly who I am. I can feel that fire rising. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm not trying to put it out. I think of Earth, when I think about the community I am creating, I think of Earth angels, people who are heartfelt, genuine, authentic, no matter what the world presents. People who don't have to be perfect. They can make mistakes. They can have done wrong. They can have experienced some of the worst things that could happen to a person. But they're still standing. They're still believing there's more out there. People who can say, I've never experienced what you're talking about, but I feel where you're coming from. People who don't need a room full of yes men. People who don't need to be exactly like everyone else. People who can say, I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be me. That's my community. The person standing next to me doesn't have to be perfect. They just have to be real. When I imagine that room, it feels like light. It feels like happy souls. People who are different from one another, but somehow recognize as something familiar in each other. It feels like family. People are talking about building things, inspiring people. Where we will be going to travel next. What are we going to see? What are we going to create? What are we going to do together? That we are building something lasting, something foundational, something that can go on for generations, something that makes people proud. And when someone walks through that door for the first time, they will see smiling faces. They will feel genuine energy. They will feel, I belong here. And when they leave, they will think, I can't wait to feel that again. They will remember the love they felt, the conversations, the laughter, idea, the possibilities. Because I don't need an audience. I want participants. I don't want people simply watching me. I see people bringing themselves, their stories, their questions, their mistakes, their dreams, their humanity. And maybe that's what Grounded and Galactic really is. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about what becomes possible between us when we are willing to show up authentically. So here I am, world. 50 years old, still here, still becoming, still dreaming, still creating, still asking questions, still believing there is more. Then that spark has already happened. Maybe one day we will look around and realize that spark became a light. Not because one person changed the world, but because they changed something within themselves. Then shared that change with someone else, one person, then another, until we are no longer standing alone. We are standing together. That is my vision. That is my second half. There is one more thing I have to convey. There is a song that is very important to me. At one point, I had to stop looking at everybody else. I had to stop asking the world to change. I had to stop asking other people to become different so that I could feel different. I had to look at the person in the mirror, me. I had to ask myself, what am I going to change? What am I going to take responsibility for? What am I going to release? What am I going to become? That wasn't easy. Because looking honestly at yourself means you have to see everything. The beautiful parts, the broken parts, the mistakes, the things you're proud of, the things you're not proud of, the woman that survived, the woman who didn't know what she knows today. And instead of judging her, I choose to love her. I choose to understand her. I choose to forgive her. And then I chose to change. That's what I've done. I've looked in the mirror, and what I see looking back at me now is not a victim. I see a creator. I see a woman who finally understands that while I can't control everything that happens around me, I can choose what I do with what happens to me or inside of me. I choose what I believe. I choose what I learn. I choose what I create. And maybe that's where real change begins. Not with someone else, but with the person looking back at you from the mirror. And that is grounded in galactic. So now I've got a question for you. Not because I have the answers for your life, but because maybe there's something inside you that's been waiting for you to look at it. And maybe there's something you've been dreaming about, something you've been carrying, something you've been afraid to begin, something you've been waiting for the world to give you permission to become. So before you leave this space, I want you to look in your own mirror and ask yourself, what do I want to create?